Familiar faces.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
everyone.
We'll give it just a minute and then we'll start.
Hi.
I'm like getting to know people through Zoom, actually. It's funny to be in a workshop with someone before and recognize them when you see them again. Nice to see you again. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Hello, Jarmo. Still awake.
Yes, yeah, just about to go to sleep, but I could do this. But I will not hold it the end of the ceremony. I will go sleep quite soon after the
Yeah,
my part.
after your presentation. You're
Yes.
the first one.
But all these are kind of recorded and stored somewhere.
Yes, we have a complete recording of everything. We have some stuff archived on YouTube, but yeah, after the event, there will be a more complete archive that we'll compile so that everyone can continue to access the information.
Yes.
Good.
Very good.
All right, I think I'm going to start us because I start, so people can definitely be joining while I'm talking. So let me first tell you guys what our agenda is for today. So I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to the closing ceremony for the City Science Summit Guadalajara. This is our agenda. So we actually have a long meeting ahead of us, but it's because we have a lot of content. And I still think it's going to move very quickly because we're going to actually take a lot of lightning talks today as well. We'll start with a conversation from the University of Guadalajara. So we'll be hearing from Héctor, Raúl, Solís, Gadea, the Executive Vice President, and Carlos Ivan Moreno, the Academic Provost. And they are in conversation sort of telling us, what did they learn? What was it like to host? What was it like to be here? Then we jump into a conversation with Kent, Mayra, and Luis. So this is informal. This is like, what did you guys learn? What were your main takeaways? What was important about this event to you? And then we go into our workshop report back. After our introduction, I'll give us all sort of a more specific agenda for that. And then we will open it up to all of us here. So this will be, what did you learn? What was it like for you? Because even though we have the 2 hours, we're sort of running through a lot of information quickly. I think we'd love to hear like any key insights or like the big ideas that you're taking away. And then even though we're here together today for the closing ceremony, we actually still have more content for you. So this afternoon we have a film screening, and this evening we have a creative session with DJs and musicians and performances. So we'll be able to see all of that as well. That's our big overview of the agenda. And we'll move into our introduction.
Hey, one question.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't prepare any slides. I was thinking these short sessions are quite vocal. So is that okay? So we don't need to report with any slides.
Yeah, so for the workshop report back, each person has 4 minutes. It's very brief. Yes. And you can definitely just talk to us and let us know what you were thinking. Actually, some workshops even finished this morning. So I know that you guys are still wrapping things up, but just tell us sort of what it was like, what the big picture was, either slides or a casual report back.
Yes.
Jarmo, I don't have slides, so don't worry about it.
That's unusual for Kent, actually. So.
Yeah. I regret that I don't have this background of yours. I mean, because this is really great identity, because it's personal identity.
Your own, Jarmo. You go to the what is it, citysciencenetwork.org, and there's a Serape generator there.
I noticed that. I didn't. Maybe I could do it before we still have
right now before you present. It takes about 2 minutes.
Yeah, because I love this view of everybody having their own kind of colorful thing behind them.
Yeah, in fact, I would encourage everyone to make a Serape background if you don't already have one for this session.
Yeah, that would look great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with our first piece of content. So this is Héctor Raúl Solís Gadea and Carlos Iván Moreno from the University of Guadalajara.
Hola, soy Raúl Solís, vicerrector ejecutivo de la Universidad de Guadalajara, y estoy muy contento por compartir esta ocasión con Iván Moreno, coordinador general académico de la Universidad de Guadalajara. Y vamos a platicar para hacer un breve resumen, unas breves conclusiones, no finales, pero sí que intentan dar cuenta de lo que hemos vivido estos 3 días extraordinarios para nosotros en la universidad, para la ciudad y para estas comunidades que están reunidas alrededor de los laboratorios de las ciudades en 3 continentes. Hemos visto diversas experiencias de aprendizaje, de aplicación de inteligencia creativa, de intentos de solución de problemas que nos llenan de esperanza. ¿Qué enseñanzas te dejaron estos 3 días de la cumbre de ciudades?
Un evento tan diverso, tan rico, tan intenso de visiones, desde el urbanismo, la arquitectura, los grandes datos, la salud pública, la inteligencia artificial, la gobernanza, el tema de los feminicidios, la inequidad, todo alrededor de un concepto muy poderoso que es el bienestar en la ciudad, ¿sí? El segundo elemento es que esta interdisciplina me parece que se amalgama a través de este concepto tan fuerte o tan sencillo, pero tan difícil de materializar, que es la confianza, el trust. Lo enfatizaron tanto Ken Larson, en los diversos talleres, Norman Foster, en fin, no se puede lograr la solución de problemas de manera franca y genuina si no hay un paradigma, si no partimos de un paradigma de la confianza. Y el tercer elemento es que a mí me deja un aprendizaje. Ya no veo yo a las ciudades de la misma manera. Si me permites el uso de las metáforas de Morgan, veo la ciudad ya como un cerebro que procesa datos, pero también como una máquina que soluciona problemas, como un ser vivo que evoluciona, que se enferma, como una prisión psíquica. Entonces, muy, muy contento, y creo que la gente ha disfrutado estos 3 días tan intensos.
Pues yo comparto tu alegría, y sobre todo porque nos regresa la esperanza, la creencia de que los problemas se pueden resolver, o mejor dicho, y creo que con esto le podemos encontrar más sentido al concepto eje que articula esta cumbre, que es el de The Power of Without. Me parece que lo que nos está queriendo decir Ken Larson con este concepto es que en los problemas mismos están las soluciones, y para encontrarlas hay que quitarnos los cartabones ideológicos, quitarnos los compromisos con paradigmas tradicionales y ser capaces de pensar, de dialogar, como tú muy bien lo dices, a partir de la confianza, y de encontrar o construir, mejor dicho, una inteligencia de grupo, una inteligencia pública, una inteligencia creativa, y porque definitivamente tenemos que intervenir en los problemas actuando sobre ellos. Y yo creo que lo que muestra una cumbre como esta es que en muchas ciudades del mundo hay comunidades de científicos, de ciudadanos, de vecinos, de arquitectos, de urbanistas, de sociólogos, de defensores de derechos humanos, buscando todos los días soluciones a sus problemas de vialidad, de salud, arquitectónicos, de convivencia, de inseguridad. Y la gracia del Power of Without es hacer que las soluciones emerjan en condiciones de escasez, de dificultad, de adversidad. Es cómo construir el poder de solucionar problemas en situaciones difíciles. Y creo yo que no hay mejor manera de hacerlo que construyendo situaciones de diálogo, de argumentación colectiva, de confianza mutua, en donde ya ni el mercado ha dejado su libre esfuerzo, ni el ejercicio del poder autoritario son suficientes, y muchas veces quizás estorben para encontrar soluciones. Así que, bueno, eso a mí me da esperanza de ver que hay talento reunido en muchos sitios, jóvenes investigadores, jóvenes arquitectos, ciudadanos, activistas sociales, buscando soluciones a sus situaciones cotidianas. Y a la universidad, creo, nos compromete muchísimo a partir de la necesidad de la interdisciplina. ¿Cómo verías tú que queda la universidad? Es decir, ¿qué podemos aprender como universitarios de estas problemáticas y de esta forma en que se están enfrentando los problemas en otras ciudades del mundo, incluida la nuestra?
Bueno, es muy importante lo que has dicho, Héctor, Raúl. A mí, francamente, me costó algo de trabajo entender realmente el concepto de Power of Without. Sí, lo leía, lo revisaba, es pegajoso, pero realmente creo que lo entendí un poco mejor, y es muy potente porque quizás en algunos contextos de países desarrollados, de ciudades mucho más desarrolladas, era una invitación a pensar que no todo es más tecnología pesada, que no todo es más equipamiento, ¿sí? Sino que también se requiere mayor creatividad, inclusión. Sin embargo, me parece que una de las lecciones es que ahora, con lo que estamos viviendo, con esta pandemia, con sus impactos económicos, políticos, sociales, de salud, creo que ya no es una invitación a la reflexión, ya se vuelve una obligación el generar soluciones sin recursos, ¿sí? En ausencia de elementos que antes quizás se tenían un poco más. Entonces, por un lado es preocupante, pero por otro lado comparto el entusiasmo, comparto el optimismo de que no obstante la fuerte crisis que se nos viene o que ya está pegando en América Latina, en México, la caída del presupuesto, el Producto Interno Bruto, la pobreza, hay esperanza, y el pensar en el Power of Without nos va a obligar como universidad, pero también como sociedad, como ciudad, como estado, como país, a seguir encontrando soluciones de inclusión, de equidad, de desarrollo y de paz social, Héctor, en la escasez. Entonces me llevo muchas lecciones y muchas reflexiones en este sentido.
Sí, yo también. Yo creo que nos compromete, sobre todo porque como universitarios tenemos que poner el talento y el conocimiento al servicio de los problemas, o mejor dicho, al servicio de la ciudad, para que la ciudad y las comunidades de la ciudad resuelvan mejor sus problemas. Entonces, nosotros tenemos ya el laboratorio de ciudades, tenemos esta asociación con MIT, con estas otras universidades de estos 7 países del mundo, o de estas 7 ciudades importantes. Y estamos ya embarcados en este esfuerzo de construir conocimiento útil, creativo, innovador, porque no se trata ya nada más de escribir papers o libros y acumularlos. Se trata de que los investigadores, en un diálogo interdisciplinario, en un contacto con la ciudad y sus habitantes, construyan alternativas de acción para intervenir en los problemas. Así que ese es un reto extraordinario, porque como tú bien dices, hay que ir más allá de las disciplinas aisladas, hay que ir más allá de las visiones ideológicas, y también más allá de los esfuerzos meramente individuales, de académicos desvinculados, y hay que construir juntos con la sociedad las soluciones a los problemas. Entonces, es un reto magnífico, enorme, pero por fortuna, en la medida en que seamos capaces de entenderlo, podemos trabajar para adaptarnos mejor, ser resilientes y fluir alrededor de los problemas, porque de los problemas mismos saldrán las soluciones. Me gustó mucho lo que dijo el arquitecto Foster. Las grandes ciudades se han hecho en las crisis, en los incendios, en los terremotos. Y nosotros tenemos una crisis encima. Así que, yo creo que una manera inteligente de enfrentar estas situaciones es reflexionando con mucha libertad sobre todo lo que hemos visto aquí en esta cumbre. Salvo tu mejor opinión.
Sí, yo también me quedo con una reflexión final. Lo decía un senador norteamericano hace algunos años, ya falleció, decía, si quieres construir una gran ciudad, primero construye una universidad una gran universidad y espérate 200 años y el progreso llegará. Y la Universidad de Guadalajara está por cumplir 95 años, por cierto, la próxima semana. Hay muchas universidades muy importantes en nuestro estado que le han dado vida y que han hecho que Guadalajara sea la segunda ciudad más importante de nuestro país y han contribuido también, como lo decía el propio rector general, a la innovación, al desarrollo, también a la crítica, también a la reflexión, pero yo me voy con esta idea de que una gran ciudad que resuelva sus problemas requiere esto que tú decías, de la confluencia de voluntades también desde la crítica, y las universidades son fundamentales para la solución de estos problemas. Entonces, construidos de manera colaborativa. Entonces, esta reflexión que haces, Héctor, sobre pues, el laboratorio que hemos logrado construir con MIT, con estas siete ciudades, tiene un gran potencial para seguir o solucionar de mejor manera los problemas que enfrenta nuestra urbe y las urbes de prácticamente todo el mundo. Entonces hay mucho trabajo por hacer, mucho trabajo por delante, pero los aprendizajes son muchos y yo comparto esta idea inicial tuya, Héctor, del entusiasmo, ¿sí? y del optimismo, ¿sí?
Sí, sí, sí. Y bueno, mencionaste al rector y aprovecho yo para decir que tenemos un rector muy, muy innovador y muy autocrítico también, o muy crítico de nuestras propias circunstancias. Y en ese sentido, bueno, lo estamos viendo todos los días en la Universidad de Guadalajara. Entonces, bueno, nuestra conclusión final es que hemos aprendido mucho, el valor de construir juntos el conocimiento, el valor de imaginar soluciones, el valor de respetar a las comunidades y llevar la inteligencia, construirla con ellos, con la gente, para resolver nuestras crisis y nuestros problemas. Así que con eso cerramos. Muchísimas gracias a todas y todos por acompañarnos en estos 3 días. Gracias.
Okay, great. Let's get some feedback on that initially. So Kent is our director at MIT City Science. Mayra Gamboa is the leader of the City Science Lab at the University of Guadalajara. And Luis Alonso is a research scientist on our team. So we'd love to hear you three sort of share your thoughts.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to congratulate Mayra once again for just being appointed director of the City Science Lab in Guadalajara. So everybody give her a big thumbs up and hand. Yeah. So Mayra, what did you think?
Oh, I think we have had a great event. Well, I'm very happy with the outcomes. It has been full of activities, many participants and speakers from different backgrounds, and even we have had communities and citizens, regular citizens that have been actively getting involved in all the workshops from a very multidisciplinary approach. So trying to give a meaning to this main topic of the summit, the power of without, and taking this work towards a more positive, resilient scope. I think we have discussed a lot of problems and concerns in different areas, from the territorial, the social, health, political perspective. And we have seen some technological applications that have helped to understand these dynamics. In some of the workshops with some tools where participants were able to play with and to get involved in the simulation of analysis, discussions, design, and even decision-making processes. So regarding their environments, and well, tools like augmented reality, artificial intelligence, agent-based modeling, light infrastructure mobility, and Cityscope, just to mention some of them. I think these tools and interactions have been very helpful in building bridges between different visions and languages, allowing to have a more inclusive participation. So, well, I think one of the reasons we wanted to be the host of this event is because we need to strengthen the collaboration between the North Global and South Global. I have seen that there is an increase of awareness regarding that what happens here will affect or have in the other side of the world. And we need to tackle these challenges together. I think this is one of the main reflections of this summit. The pandemic has left us with many lections, not only adapting to new ways of work, studying, or living, but we have also found positive outcomes, like using this type of communication tools that allow to reach more people, to get them involved. So now we have to think how to put all these ideas together to come up with new strategies, new solutions, new ways of facing the challenges and creating low-cost solutions. That's for our context, of course. Yeah, but great, I think it has been a wonderful event. I don't know, what do you think, Luis, also?
Luis.
Well, well, I agree with everything that has been said. I think we were facing like a huge challenge, like the first virtual summit. And at the beginning, I was a little bit like, wow, what are we gonna do? But finally, we did something that is new. I think it was very fresh. It's the first event online that I really feel like I was in the event. All the workshops, they were like aligned. The first day was also amazing. So I think, and also we test new technologies. Like at the end of the day, I was spending some time also in the 3D virtual world that UDG made for this event, and I love it. So I think I was expecting something kind of more like, let's say, flat, because virtual is like that. But at the end, we made an event that was very interactive, very powerful, I think, and I think it's very diverse. And I like the evolution of the summit. So since 2017 that we did the first summit in Andorra, that was probably for me was the most special, because it was the first. It was Andorra, but it was like the team and the Andorra team talking and presenting, and we were missing a little bit the network because it was the first one. So the second one was Shanghai, and we had the network with us, but it was also a lot of people from Shanghai. So and it was a huge event. So the network was kind of, I think Hamburg was the first point where the network was even more important than city science, and then that was beautiful. And in this moment, the Guadalajara, I think, has been the most inclusive one, where it's not important talking about us, it's talking about the collaboration. And I think that's what is great about the Guadalajara, about this year, is like collaboration, very diverse speakers, and the topic is amazing. So I really like it. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. We like to do these events in one of our affiliated city science labs for lots of reasons. It's really beneficial for us because it helps us build the relationships with the people who are our co-hosts. It builds trust. It's always a unique experience, as you said, Luis. Andorra was the first one, was in one of the tiniest countries in the world. It's like a little village up in the mountains, and there was something very intimate about it. And it was really just in our immediate family. And then the next year we go to Shanghai, which is a mega city in the largest, most populous country on the planet. And we had 3,000 people in the hall and something like millions of people watching it, streaming. I mean, it was something kind of insane about it in a fabulous way. But it certainly was not intimate. And And then, of course, we had Hamburg, which was a very European experience, and just a fantastic city with all the amenities the European cities have. We had it in the brand new Philharmonic Hall, so that was a very special event. It felt, frankly, maybe a little bit elitist, but it was fantastic. And then of course, we were all expecting to go to Guadalajara in person and have the real Mexican experience. That didn't happen. And like Luis, I thought, oh man, what do we do now? How can we pull off a virtual event? But it seems like every time we do something, maybe it's in our genetic makeup, but we have to do something new. And this forced us to do something entirely new, to do the virtual event. And there are some downsides to it in that we're not all together face. We can't go out and share a dinner and a beer and have the kind of more face-to-face relationship building activities that you have at a face-to-face conference. But it had some pluses. It did allow us to pull in people that we wouldn't be able to bring to a face-to-face event. It allowed us to have even more diverse voices on stage. I went through the list, I think, the first day on my summary, but it's useful to do it again. So we had, and I may forget some, we had artists, architects, politicians, public policy people, scholars, educator, artists, feminist, activist, a Buddhist monk, and 3 women from an informal settlement. Who'd I leave out? Did I leave anybody else out? Is that the list? Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine there are too many events that had that diversity of voices that were presented. We had an orchestra too, so I forgot about that. So what's amazing to me when we put these things together is we have such an incredible team that these things used to be incredibly stressful for me. I now just have the confidence that, and I know the people in our group and in this case with Guadalajara, last year with Hamburg, that people are just going to rise to the occasion and get things done, right? And it'll come together. It's just amazing to have that level of confidence. I mean, Maggie and Mayra did the heavy lifting, but everybody participated in one way or another. Whether it was doing the graphics or the video editing or the interviews that Luis did, running workshops, dealing with the complex issues of how to pull off the web complexity related to the streaming and the scheduling, and so it all just came together, and it's always a lot of hard work. But everybody made it look kind of effortless, I think, even though it was not at all. And right, Maggie, it wasn't quite effortless, was it?
It wasn't so easy, but it was fun.
But it was fun. I mean, it was just amazing. So I mentioned this to a few people, but my wife Maria was watching it upstairs. I didn't know. I sent her the link, but I had no idea she was watching it. She came down and said, "You need to get Netflix to carry this, and you should earn an Emmy." So so that's another advantage of doing the virtual event is it pretty much forces you, at least if you want to have high quality content and for it to run seamlessly, to do much higher quality production, to do pre-production, to put the videos together and have the editing and the transition and all of that. And now we have material that we can use from here on out, everybody in the network can use, of a quality that you normally don't get, even if you videotape a whole conference. I mean, it's not the kind of event that holds up well typically when it's when you just watch it on YouTube. To do that, you need really high production values. That's why TED is so popular. You know, they have both the content, but they have the production values and the kind of branding, and it all comes together into this integrated package. But let me ask, so Luis and Mayra, let me ask you just about the content. You know, the without framing. I was very impressed that you could see groupings of themes that I think were really strong, even though we didn't explicitly group them together. Equity was a big theme. It kept coming up over and over again. So you had the e-learning without inequality, the equity without zoning, the cities without segregation, communities without boundary. Tenzin, in the interview I did, the Buddhist monk, talked about trust and how to build more resilient communities. That was for me, you know, really interesting and powerful, and I really appreciated that everyone sort of understood and grabbed hold of this without theme and ran with it and turned these workshops into something that I think was very compelling and focused and important. But Mayra, I'd love, and Luis, love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, that was actually something that I saw, that because we didn't actually say like, okay, the labs they has to produce certain topics or just align with the main topics, and there were a lot of proposals regarding these equity issues that I actually have to see all of them because I was participating in a couple of those. Mm-hmm. But we have participants that were very into the problems and providing some solutions, and they were also eager to get involved in these projects and processes, which is something that I'm very glad that, because sometimes, you know, the people is there and they are able to do things, they have great ideas to develop. But if you don't find these kind of platforms where you come up and get to know each other and communicate, then you cannot complete the process, right? So this is something that the workshop and the summit allows to do, like identifying different people's profiles and the people that would like to continue working with us. So yeah, many people were, I found people that was very interested in segregation, in how the built environment, the form is affecting or increasing these gaps that we have in our communities, all inequalities. This was a word that I was continually hearing in some of the workshops, the talks, and also in the coffee breaks. So yeah, I think there is more an awareness and increase of this concern between not only the technical people, but also common people and yeah, all the participants. So yeah, this is something that we can take away and continue working with them.
I think we need to keep building on this. So what do you think, Luis?
Totally, no. So I remember the first time that with Norman Foster and Nicholas, you were talking about the power of without, and at that point I was like, wow, this idea is super powerful, and then you start like pushing this idea in many different ways, and at the beginning I thought it was gonna be just like the typical good idea but it grew up and became kind of like a line of research in the group, then an umbrella for other ideas, and from my point of view is growing as something that is almost like a new way of looking to reality and a new way of understanding the world, and I think people are getting that concept. You don't have to explain too much to the people like what is the meaning of the power of without. They very quickly gets into the point, And of course, they have their own interpretation. Sometimes it's more aligned with our ideas, sometimes it's less aligned, but all the time, people are using this power of without in a very, very powerful way and a very interesting way. So I love how this concept is becoming something that is a tool for us, but at the same time is a way of breaking, like the comfort zone of people, pushing people outside of the comfort zone and helping people to think in a new way, in different ways. So for me, the power of without is something that for sure I want to keep exploring. And I like that the summit was framed in that way. The interviews, when I was making the interview to some people, I was just directly asking, okay, so what is the without that we are using here? And they were very quickly answering, oh, this is my without. And I think that's beautiful. So I am super happy that we somehow are keeping this idea and that we are keeping working with this idea, because I think also it's a good path for opening to the global south, like Mayra was explaining. So I think I love it.
Well, one of the most fun times for me was when I was interviewing Tenzin Priyadarshi, the Buddhist monk, and out of the blue, I told him the theme's power without. What do you think? He first time he'd ever heard that, and you should, if you get a chance, look at the longer version we'll post of my interview. He got into a long explanation about the Buddhist concept of within and without, and I'm not sure I fully understand it, but there is a book which I'm going to read about that Buddhist concept, but. I think it was very powerful. The other, so we had all the equity withouts. There were also a lot of the themes about how these systems are changing and becoming, entering new forms. So the changing nature of shopping, for example, we had the delivery without contact, and changing nature of work, companies without offices. Mm-hmm. And the changing nature of healthcare, so it's becoming more distributed, and telemedicine, et cetera, health without hospitals, and how campuses are changing, campuses without walls, museums without walls. And I think those are all related and also very powerful. And I think there's some real little jewels in there that we can continue to build on.
Totally.
Maybe we should pass now to the network. Do you think we're ready, Kent? We have our different workshops and report backs from our speakers.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me just mention one thing that so we have to figure out what we're doing next year. So we have lots of ideas. I think right at the top of the list of possibilities is doing this in Taipei next year. That would be very exciting. We're going to have to figure this all out and talk with our friends in Taipei. Actually, I think Professor Yao is on.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, you're here. Yeah. So we'll have to follow up with that conversation and figure out what it would take to make that happen. I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, we've also there is some pressure, not pressure, but suggestions here at MIT that we do an MIT event, a big event, but I would love to do something in Taipei.
Yeah, we'd love to. So actually, I have talked to some of my colleagues in the administrative team. They also agree with me. So if everyone agree, I would love to invite you all coming to Taipei next year.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. All right. Yeah, so let's begin to work through the logistics and see if we can make that happen. And hopefully we'll all have immunity and the pandemic will be well behind us by then.
Okay. Yeah.
We can all travel. So. Although the way we're going in this country, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, we won't get into that. So yeah, Maggie, let's
all right.
Move on.
One more piece of info from me. So we did 15 workshops. As you all know, we started on Wednesday night and we ran all the way through this morning. Really an incredible amount of content. And for those of you that are presenting back, this is the agenda that we've put together. 4 minutes each. I'll help time us and facilitate us, but we'll try to do this pretty rapid fire if we can. So know where you are on the list. Let me know if you have any issues or need to move to a different place. Otherwise, we'll follow this agenda, and we look forward to hearing from you. So first up, Jarmo Suominen is online to tell us about his workshop, Campuses Without Walls.
Okay, hey, thank you, and hello from Shanghai at this time. And I want to say thank you, Kent and Mayra and Maggie and Luis, for a great work and opportunity to talk about these ideas. And I sure agree that this was more about the network than you guys. That's a joke, maybe a joke. And I love the without team even more than before, because it forces us to go beyond these traditional ideas. So our workshop was Campuses Without Walls. And there was quite a lot of discussion that why do we have the walls in the first place? Because university campuses should be the heart of the community, should be the platform for innovation in from the beginning. But the walls are many times they are physical, they are invisible, they are kind of based on decision making. They are all over us. And I think this idea of pushing us to think about what are actual the walls is quite important. And if I could very briefly go through these different approaches, like Eduardo Santana was showing the video of parkour field, that could we use the environment as a parkour wrongdoing the environment. Or Kevin Davis from MIT was talking about open resources and unused resources. Gustav Padilla for CUSEA was talking about innovation ecosystems. How could we communicate with this ecosystem better ways? And Kent Larson, you were talking about new learning models and new hybrids are coming maybe after this pandemic. Gabriela Villanueva was talking about innovation cultures. And I think the culture is a key issue of this without team, that how could we emphasize new learning and innovation cultures. Victor Larios was talking about smart campus, not only smart technologies, but how could we use the campus as a platform, as an environment for innovation. And Juan de Merutis was saying that we should be more open, more digital than physical. That has happened before, but now we will need to focus also on the physical environment. And the COVID, I mean, the COVID unfortunate situation has forced us all to think about physical environment in a new way. How can we come together, not only virtually, but physically in the long run? And one of the theme was really about this collaboration. So I call it social learning. And I was using this concept social learning about how could we find an environment with a sense of belonging, that I belong to some community regarding the university campuses, sense of becoming something else with others. And this, many times it requires some kind of physical connection. Not only that, but that's kind of emphasizing it. Sense of believing in same kind of meanings and purposes. We need to share our thinking in different ways, and learning by doing together. And this requires workshops and studios and labs. And as a kind of conclusion, we say that information technology is smart already. So we have developed that technology, but the physical technology, physical environments are still lacking behind. We are still kind of prisoners of ownerships and control and traditional management ways of doing management. So I was presenting some ideas of what we have done in Aalto City Science Lab and beyond that to establish a company to manage or to open the ecosystems. And I think it's quite interesting discussion regarding if we open the environments, what are the issues of security? And that was actually discussed quite a lot, that people were partially concerned about what happens if we allow different kind of stakeholders in the ecosystem to come to us. And I think that's a question of, well, first of all, everybody, at least in my point of view, agreed that we need to be more open. We need to break the walls instead of building the walls. But second of all, what are the questions, what are the solutions to do that? And I think that is going to be beyond the workshop. That's going to be the future research. What are actual solutions? If we really agree that we need to think about physical environment, not only as a workplace or as a kind of exclusive entity, but more inclusive platform and community kind of environment for coming together. And I would like to leave that a little bit open. So I have my own ideas, but the group was so diverse that I learned that there are quite many ways to solve this. But as a conclusion, I might say that we need to solve both problems, not only digital, but physical problems. But how can we come together in this hybrid future caused by COVID-19 in the first place, but caused by disruptions which will not stop here, but will continue to go further in the future. I'm not sure if I make any sense, but that was my kind of translation of the workshop.
Oh, I think that was perfect, Jarmo. And you
Thank
did
you.
it in almost 4 minutes too.
That's rare for me, but thank you.
That's pretty rare because I've known you for
Yeah.
20 years and that's extraordinarily rare.
Okay.
Thank you, Jarmo. Thank you for being here. Okay, next let's pass to Professor Yao, who is online in Taipei.
Okay, so I will quickly wrap up what we have here in Taipei, and I will say a few words about what I feel. I'm sorry, technical problem. Okay, so with the help from our school, so we make this event as a international webinar. So we have some poster around the campus, and it attracted about 120 people from our school. And I was very surprised. We have so many people waiting to attend this kind of unusual event. Okay, so we actually have three very good conference yesterday. So our topic was delivery without contact. So we get motivated by the PEV in Taipei Tech, and so of course PEV was from Media Lab, and so we feel that PEV could support the last mile from station to the building. Where people live, and so we are thinking that how about inside the building? So we want to build our gadget. I would call it campus rover, selling inside the building. It can even operate the elevator. So we divided. We actually made three sessions. And each session attracts a group of students attending this every group. And our students are eager to discuss those subtopics with people connected remotely. So we have three topics: transportation without contact, entertainment without contact, or medical service without contact. So those are the those are the photo people, our students discussing with each other or with people connected remotely. And of course, students also post their questions through the Slido, and we also answer the questions from the Slido. So of course, I would like to mention that we have a very good team. We have very good support from our school. I would like to thank Professor Su. She's also on the line. Professor Su is the dean of our R&D in our school. So with their help, so we have, as you can see, we have very beautiful decoration in the conference site. And so thanks for Ken's invitation. I really look forward to seeing you all next year in Taipei Tech, in Taipei. This is the quick wrap up of our webinar. But I would like to say something. I hope that well, because of this pandemic, I have some thoughts. I think that we have a league of universities from 3 continents, from several cities around the world. So after this pandemic, what can we learn? And as a university, what can we help after pandemic next year? So I really hope that maybe we could have some thoughts about this, and we could have some discussion next year. And I feel that this pandemic has given us a very big impact, and also actually several cities, even university has been changed a lot. So after pandemic, what can we do, and what can we help to rebuild this country or rebuild this city? This is what I feel. Thank you.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you so much.
Yeah, that's great. And I have to say, it brings great work, and it's fabulous to see all those people there. It brings back memories of when we did our hackathon in Taipei, and we had something like, I don't remember the number, hundreds. You remember, Luis? Hundreds of students involved in this hackathon.
Yeah, I think it was 300 students or more.
Yeah, it was crazy, but the great projects. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it's just amazing, and I'm jealous to see everyone there, you know, being able to come close together physically. That's something that we all miss. But I think your idea, I think we might in one way or another want to frame the next one on how to make a post-pandemic world a better place, something like that. That could be very interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So next we want to go back to Shanghai, and Chang and Professor Lo have set up a video for us. So let's cue that up. This is our only pre-recorded content. So next we will hear from Professor Lo.
Okay, hi everyone. We're the team of the Governance Without Bureaucrats, and I'm Chang. I will give a brief introduction of our workshop and the opening speech by Dean Lo, and Wei Wei and Danwen will give a feedback from our 2 keynote speakers. So our workshop is hosted by the City Science Lab at Shanghai in Tongji University, the College of Design and Innovation. Our workshop lasted about 1 hour and a half with presentations, Q&A, and discussion. We discussed about the resilient communities in the post-COVID-19 age and how to achieve a better community regeneration, health living, social well-being, and efficient governance with modern information and intelligent technologies. So we start with an opening speech by our dean, Professor Lo Yongqi, and he mentioned about most of the current attention had been paid on the COVID-19 pandemic instead of some real urgent issues, including like the climate change, urban environment, resources consuming, etc. So based on these existing issues, we need to take actions in finding new methods and ways in building a sustainable community. So yeah, so that's the opening speech. And then the keynote speaker 1, maybe.
Okay, tonight we invited Professor Long Ying, who is well-known scholar in urban design from Tsinghua University, gave us a very inspiring talk about digital innovation in urban design, both in theory and practice. This talk aims to create future cities using digital innovation. In his talk, he first posed some challenges in urban design today in digital revolution area. And then he discussed the structure and the relationship among spatial innovation, place making, and digital innovation in scenarios and he also give us some his recently research results and his recent thinking. He agrees that future cities or urban design will benefit from the digital innovation. At last, he also gave us some inspiring practical cases of digital innovation in urban design. That's the review for Professor Long Yin's talk.
And
Okay.
for Professor Liu, and for Mr. Liu Daizong, and he showed us some very good policies and strategies for the community resilience, and also some practical cases. And as we know that facing serious impact caused by climate change, so we are now facing a series of impact caused by climate change. So we need to become resilient in larger scales and also community scales. And many cities in China has also began to do a lot of corresponding research and practice. I hope there will be more small and implementation of interconnected projects here can bring more experience in development and transformation of high density cities to show how the world maybe they can also learn some experience from.
Thank you to all of the organizers for the Governance Without Bureaucrats workshop. It's been wonderful to get to work with you on the summit. And thank you to Dean Lowe and the speakers, Professor Long and Mr. Liu, for the wonderful keynote speeches. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. On to the next, should we go? I see Ryan is online. So Ryan from MIT is doing Equity Without Zoning.
Hey everyone. Yeah, let me share my screen. You hear me okay, right?
Yep.
Okay. See my screen? Yeah. This workshop is a collaboration between the City Science Lab Shanghai and also our group in MIT. And the theme is to explore dynamic incentive policies for prosocial cities with agent-based simulation. We created an online tool that everyone can use. I put the link on the chat window as well. Later you can try it yourself. So the big questions for the greatest challenges we have nowadays in the cities, the social and the environmental challenge is how can we effectively address that? So take Kendall as an example. We are low on a lot of social and environmental performances, and the power of without. We use different technologies to improve the mobility and also to improve efficiency on housing, but these improvements are limited. And how can we achieve our aspiration, which is a 10-fold improvement? So that's a big question, and we believe that how humankind organize our activities is has the biggest potential. For example, to switch from using a car to using a fossil fuel car to using a electric vehicle, we only save maybe 30% of the CO2 emission, but to live nearby where they work make a much more improvement. So we believe we need to promote the behavior change, but to promote that, we need to harness the power of the market force and use it beyond economic benefits, but the social and environmental urban performances as well. And the incentive policies is not a new thing, but it hasn't been working well. And we think one of the loopholes it has is it's static, and it's not considering the gap between the supply and the demand and also it's not considering the demand of everyone. So we are proposing a dynamic way to reevaluate the demand of the community every quarter of the year, maybe, and also to use data and optimization to increase the efficiency of these incentive policies to achieve our aspiration. So, but how can we understand it better and optimize it? So we use agent-based simulation to simulate different party stakeholders and their relationships, and how the incentives will take effect. So our tool is online, like game-like things. It's a simplified version for sure. We worked quite hard to make it work in like a month. And what it does is you can choose from 3 scenarios: no incentives, static incentives, and dynamic incentive policies. And when you run the simulation, you can see the agents moving, and also you can see the performance, like on the right side, like the radar chart, both social and environmental performances. And then you can also, when you go to the static incentives, you can choose the strengths of each incentive policies and see their impact in detail. But the also cool things we feel is that, so you can see the evolution in time as well. But the most cool things is the last mode, which is the dynamic incentive policies. Instead of choosing how much strength you want to have, you can choose the goal you want to achieve, and the computer will optimize for you. We had a group discussion and try on these tools, and a lot of the users think it is a really helpful tool to better understand how to implement the incentive policies dynamically in the real life. And we also ask questions about how can this be helpful in your country, and so on and so forth, and what can be improved. And we got a lot of feedbacks, and we hope this can become a more comprehensive research direction in the future and apply to real world. And I want to give a big applause to the team, and they work like 24/7 for many weeks and to make it happen. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you, Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, I just want to note that I didn't work 24 hours to make that happen. That was you all, even though you show my photo there.
Okay, next we have Health Without Hospitals. Jordi is here from Andorra.
Hi, do you listen to me?
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you very much. So this is Dr. Jordi Serrano-Pons. I'm not from Andorra, but I represent Andorra today. But yeah, I'm working. I'm an advisor, digital health advisor for the government, for the healthcare system, and we enjoy a lot together in that workshop. Hospitals without infrastructure. Sorry, healthcare without hospitals. And basically, we had a nice seminar with 4 people, myself. Then we had Mark Pons, which is the director of the Innovation Agency, which explained a massive serological test, and Vanessa Arroyo. We had Dr. Eva Eras, which explained a little bit the aging care system implemented these days. And then we had Oscar Chaman that explained Cities for Global Health. So, of course, of the Mid-Media Lab, I don't want to forget him, of Ronan Durley, that explained a massive study done in Andorra with data of Andorra. It was pretty interesting. We started the workshop explaining the tendencies in digital health, which, as you can understand, these last 10 months, we have achieved more than in 10 years. We've been all people involved in digital health. We've been fighting sometimes to implement telemedicine. And we saw how in 10 days, we were able to skip all the barriers that many times we were told, no? From one moment to another, all the GDPR rules, all the other things were like were not important at that moment, and we were able to implement many things, and that was important. That will and has already and will accelerate a tendency of decentralization from hospitals to primary care centers. More importantly, from primary care centers to homes. Hospitals at homes is what we want. Hospitals, a home is a place where people live better than hospitals. And of course, in these times, we want to avoid people going to hospitals. But once the pandemic will be over, it's always important to be at home as long as possible, because as you know, in hospitals, we have many nosocomial infections and so on. And we want to avoid to have hospitals in any sense. Hospitals must be only for emergencies, for surgeries, and for nothing else. This is the intention in the future. We talk about this decentralization, chatbots, what we call the doctor bag of the 21st century, with ultrasounds. A GP and nurse must go to the home of a patient, and with an ultrasound, avoid a visit to a hospital. No, this is very important. All the technology that have to do with the voice, artificial intelligence in general, digital therapeutics, which is a new concept of softwares that are prescribed like pills. Some legislations in Germany now were passed last week, where the first two softwares have been accepted to be prescribed. And that's very important, where we can say engineers must have the healthcare of people in their hands. If they're coding a software, they can have also now the health of these people in their hands. And this is a very important, powerful concept. And we talk also about the digital hospital, which is a virtual hospital, which precisely makes people visiting a hospital but not in a hospital. We kept talking about what we call the 60 stop labs, which was a massive implementation in Andorra, about all these serological tests done in Andorra. 89% of population in Andorra. It's the advantage of being a very small country. 89% of people in Andorra was tested. Very good in stop labs. Then we moved to aging care in an aptitude project called, it's a transfrontier project between Spain, France, and Andorra, where a small village in Andorra, Canillo, is taking care of their older people, and with measurements to try to postpone the loss of capacity. We went on with the Cities for Global Health, where a platform of cities sharing a lot of initiative with COVID, about global initiative about COVID. And of course, we enjoy a lot with the Ronan Dorley massive study with data of Andorra. He talked about mobility data pre-lockdown, during lockdown, post-lockdown, with some hypotheses, very nice hypotheses of the behavior of people in different small municipalities, and how the people who had more contact with tourists precisely were the people less infected. So he defined an hypothesis about behavior more than contact, that was the vector of the contagious capacities of these villages. It was a very nice workshop, and we are very thankful from the Andorra's government and the healthcare system to have been invited to lead that workshop. And we thank everybody for that opportunity, and I congratulate all the other workshops, which we are enjoying a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jordi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Imanuel Schipper here from Hamburg. I think you're muted, Imanuel.
Hello everybody. I try to share the screen and it should not yet. Here we go. Now, okay, you should see it now. Okay, we took this experience of not being together to increase the collaboration. And we also tried to do an experiment that we did not test before. So thank you very much that we had the opportunity to do that with you. We were in first hand, of course, we look very important. We think that it's very important to do this collaboration, and in a lot of our projects, collaboration is in the center. And me as a theater man, I have to say, of course, I have to quote Shakespeare as an European theater man and saying, what is the city but the people? So we started with an introduction of 3 projects, as are this one. There's just the names, but all of the 3, they had in the core, they have either collaborative design, mapping the unmapped also together, and citizen engagement as the 3rd one. And we think that collaboration means it's in the center of co-create the city and brings citizens together with technology. And of course, we are interested in working together, because together is not alone, that's one thing. And also that we want to move towards better decisions. And we think that collaboration always brings or should bring better decisions. And we want to move towards a transformation, because we cannot continue as we are at the moment. And we started to, and that just will report what we did a little bit. We started to try this quicker chat, what is a kind of online tool where a lot of people could really work and talk together, what worked very well, I have to say. We had now collected somehow like 72 members, but in the maximum time we were more than 85 persons in the workshops talking together. And we also mapped them a little bit, so where they come from. So we see that there's quite a lot of the north part of the world, but not in the south. But yes, we have there. Yes, and some of the faces you might know. The tool is bringing not only that we can introduce our some project that we made a short presentation of, but the most important thing is that we make a kind of open space, and we ask the people who were attending to put their topics that they want to talk about. And it was very interesting of what kind of topics were coming out for the crowd on the workshop, what they wanted to talk about. So these were the topics, and I'm just giving you then three of the projects that we also proposed. Finally, then went that it made it that the most people found their way into that one. One was the new Unitag that Gadea is starting with the work, and a lot of questions were coming there and collected in that workshop. That was a really an interesting part to continue to work with. And you see that there are a lot of questions that were maybe could set the agenda, not only for the Unitag org, but also for other conferences, and a lot of talks, and has a lot of connections also with other talks here. The other thing is that the other one was a project that I liked very much to be presented there. Mateusz, Martin, and Gabriela showed it. And the interesting thing is that it started with our first project in Hamburg with the finding places and the refugees. And it then went on to become a participative tool for all Hamburg cities. And from there, it was moved to Guadalajara. And also Guadalajara used this kind of tool then in their cities there. So it was very nice to see that before the City Science Lab came to Guadalajara, there was already a tool of the City Science Lab back there. And yes, this is this. And the last one was the Grassbrook project, where in the workshop, they developed a kind of how to want to settle this new quarter of the city, and they made a small movement and used these tools to see how that worked and where you could set the people in. That was it. Was collaboration without confusion, and it was very good to have you all there, and I think it's very worthwhile to work on. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Emmanuel. Yeah, lots of folks in that one discussing many different topics and ideas. Okay, next, Beatrice is online in London and she's speaking for Cities Without Segregation.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see everyone again. I met some of you last year while I was doing field research in Guadalajara. And very providentially, only like 2 weeks before London went into lockdown, Mayra came to visit us at the Center for Advanced Spatial Analysis at UCL. And we were able to reconnect in order to bring some of the results of our research for this year's summit. So I want to thank Kent, Maggie, Mayra, Maitane, Luis, everyone at the MIT team. And I'd like to highlight some of the key points that came out from our presentation. The first one is the importance of following an interdisciplinary approach when studying cities, especially Guadalajara, and understanding Guadalajara as an urban system, first with a macro perspective, to then delve into micro level approaches and community-based approaches. I also would like to thank the University of Guadalajara because they've become literally a unifying force amongst stakeholders in the city. And also with this link they have with the MIT, they've been able to connect us, these researchers at the international level, to bring the results of our research to a local community. So I think the second point I'd like to make is that for us researchers, it's key that we not only stay on the theory and we don't not only stay on developing key technological approaches to studying cities, but that via forums like this, we're able to connect with policymakers and to really create a change in Guadalajara. I will share some slides now. So first of all, I'd like to show a quote that I got while I was doing field research with stakeholders in Guadalajara. So an urban planner mentioned this, which I really liked. He said, I always say Guadalajara needs to implement the triple I strategy. First, we need to innovate the city center, then integrate the peripheries with the rest of the city. Finally, we need to drive the economic development of dormitory towns. Why do we need to innovate the city center so more people come to live there? Why should we integrate the peripheries? We need to integrate this with what is outside and inside of them so that they serve as connectors with areas beyond the ring road. And dormitory towns need to have their sources of jobs and not depend on other economic centralities far away from this. So our research looked into this link between urban form, specifically the connectivity derived from the road network of Guadalajara, and to look and link this to patterns of socio-spatial segregation in the city. And it was quite, when we were doing this research, it was quite illuminating to find the link between high densities of roads and informal developments and low-income communities. So this has given us, this has shed light into how we should look into low-income communities of Guadalajara. And secondly, I would like to conclude with this remark, that popular urbanizations in Guadalajara need to be integrated into the urban fabric. And we really need to understand the role of connectivity to improve isolated areas of the city. And to create this, we need to keep in mind the concept of spatial integration, which refers not only to provide with physical connections and infrastructure to communities, but also it means how microeconomies can complement and interact with each other, right? So this is one of the main approaches of what we're doing at UCL. We are trying to understand the entire city as a system, and then to see how accessibility can create opportunities and jobs amongst the city. And Kent, we never know, but maybe after Taipei, we'd be really happy to host you at Casa in London. So hopefully we can collaborate in the future. And thank you all so much for having us.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Beatrice. So next on the roster, Hussein Manama is here, and he is speaking for Ryerson University in the workshop, which was Companies Without Offices. Looks good. Hussein, you are muted, I think. Just looking for you here up top. We don't hear you yet. Christina, I wonder if you can unmute him. I'm not sure if you can.
I just requested him to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, great. Sounds good.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just...
Nice serape, by the way.
Thank you. All right. I just want to make sure. Can you see my screen also?
Yes, looks good. We don't see it yet in present mode, but yeah, we see your slides there.
Yeah, sorry about that. First of all, I want to thank the City Science Group for hosting this. It has been a great set of conversations and a lot of inspiring talks. So a quick update on our workshop yesterday. I had an opportunity to co-host it with Suleiman Al-Hadidi from the City Science Group. And the focus we had was to really rethink how offices will function in the future, because in the past, we had the opportunity to co-locate everyone in one location. We used location and space to really figure out commonalities and themes around people. We had these ambient social signals among people that really contributed to peer learning, but all of that disappeared. And I think COVID has accelerated that phenomenon. So in the past, an office space could look like this. Again, I'm using a Toronto picture and looking at the same office, it's going to look like this now. So people are distributed, people are decentralized, and you don't have that location component that can bring people together with similar similarities. So what we looked at was that if the companies of future are building a new framework to support innovation, to support collaboration, to ensure that social dynamics and that social physics is there, perhaps we can look at 6 key pillars and address them to design this new framework. So we looked at models in which how do you really persuade people, because they are no longer co-located, they don't learn from each other, they miss those honest signals that they have in a social settings. So what are the areas that we want to look at there? We looked at the role of data, both in terms of accessing the data. Lots of sensitive data are available in many organizations. Now, companies cannot see how that data is being accessed, but at the same time, in order to really manage productivity, a lot of employees may not be comfortable sharing their data with the employer. So how are we, what's going to be our new relationship with data when work becomes more and more decentralized? A very interesting area that Suleiman has done some good work there, and he shared, is that now that people are using their home for work, or sometimes let's say they want to bring their kids to work because they may not have access to daycare, then what's going to happen to zoning? What's going to happen to the usage of the space? Can we come up with adaptive tax laws and zoning processes in which activity recognition in a space can adapt that algorithm? What we agreed upon was that technologically that's doable, but there are lots of issues that we may be overlooking, from privacy, from control of the data, the graying out between the personal boundary of people and their work. So we were discussing in terms of how we can address these issues. And then the last thing we discussed was that this new definition of productivity. We discussed that productivity up until recently was more or less a linear function, input and output. You know, did you finish your tasks? Did you deliver outcome? But now, even with COVID, productivity is developing more dimensions. People are working and at the same time taking off their kids. So we were thinking that can the company of future actually recognize and reward employees on how effectively they manage their work and life at the same time, and build models around that. So the way we ran the workshop, we actually created a case study. We said, think about a knowledge-based company in an urban area. they used to have an opportunity to co-locate people and distribute them among desks and teams around the office. And now the same workforce is completely distributed across the city. And how are we gonna, what are the areas that we are gonna address? So we divided the workshop into 6 areas: spatial issues that we gotta look at, zoning issues, personal issues, productivity issues, and we got some very good feedback from the audience in terms of the areas, and we will be compiling it and sharing that with everyone. So basically, the way we concluded the workshop was that although we talked about companies without offices, we said the companies of the future are companies that they are very clear about their purpose. They can share that with their employees. They really have a quantitative and qualitative view on what persuasion is. They are very inclusive. They leverage data in a privacy-preserving manner. And their view on productivity is very holistic. It's not just about did you finish your work or not. It's about your community service. It's about lifestyle and many things. So it was a great workshop. And yeah, so I don't know if Solomon is here, but I want to thank him as well and happy to stay in touch. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Hussein. Okay, next workshop is Bits Without Bricks, and Ronan is here.
Thanks, Maggie. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Okay, you see my screen?
Looks good.
Okay, great. So I'm presenting back on the Bits Without Bricks workshop. So this was run by Christian, Ariel, and myself, and this was kind of one of the more hands-on workshops. So we did, there was a kind of a presentation as well as a live coding demonstration that the participants could actually follow along with. And then we had some short breakout groups to get some kind of feedback from the participants on what they thought about the tool and ideas that they had around the library. So as I said, it was all based around this CS Bricks library. And the whole idea of this library is to make it was a library developed by Christian with some help from myself and Ariel in order to make it really easy to create new analysis modules and indicators for Cityscope projects. So I think pretty much everyone on the call is probably kind of somewhat familiar with Cityscope, but so a really important part of any Cityscope project is that whenever you're doing these kind of iterative design experiments, you're getting feedback in the form of indicators, which are so they're shown in various types of visualizations, like the radar chart and the bar plot that are shown on the right here. And we're always looking for new researchers to kind of bring new ideas and develop indicators based on their own kind of expertise and knowledge. But doing that sort of means navigating like the Cityscope architecture, which is not too crazy, but it's maybe a little bit daunting for, say, someone who's not a computer scientist, maybe their background's in architecture or something like that. So we wanted to make this as easy as possible and make it so that researchers don't have to worry about all this architecture. They just have to worry about taking their expertise and translating it into an indicator. So that's the whole idea of this library that Christian built. So we started off with Ariel gave kind of an overview of Cityscope in general. And then Christian went into this kind of live coding demonstration where he actually, so first of all, he actually went through creating a new Cityscope table using this grid editor that Ariel had created. And it's really, really easy now to create a new Cityscope table. It's literally just kind of filling out a couple of basic parameters here, latitude, longitude, like the number of rows and columns and so on. And then it's just creating a grid. So then, so right there, we've just created a new Cityscope table. And then Christian went into how to then create an indicator to use with the Cityscope table. So we had this Google Colab notebook, which Christian went through and kind of described the different classes and everything with the, oh, that's, I have to log in. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, so Christian went through the different classes and how to use the, how to use the classes and how to create an indicator. And so in real time created this land use diversity indicator, and then we could actually deploy it and see it working in real time. When the participants went into breakout groups, they kind of talked about what they learned and what they were kind of excited about doing with this type of tool. And so we got some feedback, which was great. A couple of things were just kind of generally people found it pretty simple and easy to understand how to prototype an indicator. And that was really great for us because that's kind of exactly what we were going for with this. And then we also got some really helpful feedback in terms of different features that we could add, like functions to import open source data. We had some questions about like how to kind of validate models, how to standardize models. And then there was one cool suggestion about creating what the participant called a BRICS hub, which is would be like an open source indicator repository. So different researchers could create different indicators and make them open source. And then just the last thing I want to mention is that the video of the workshop is going to be included on the Cityscope documentation. So just kind of, it's just this cityscope.media.mit.edu. So if you watch this space over the next few days, the workshop video will be up there. So thanks very much.
Great, thank you, Ronan. Okay, we're doing great, everyone. We have 3 more workshops. We have 2 from UDAHE and then 1 more from MIT. So next will be Ixchel and Monica, and they have 2 different workshops. So you guys each have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Maggie. So hi, everyone. I'm Ixchel Figueroa from Guadalajara. I'm so happy to be here with you in this summit. And I will be reporting back workshop e-learning without inequality, where I have the pleasure to be participating with Mayra Gamboa. First of all, we showed the background of the work we have been doing with Lomas del Centinela. This is a community in the municipality of Zapopan, which is an informal settlement. I will show you some slides. Okay, you are watching my screen, right?
Looks good.
Thank you. In this community, which is an informal settlement with a lack of access to resources and services. So we had before short, medium, and long-term goals were set. However, the current situation with the pandemic and the inclusion of online courses for basic education has brought to light an urgent problem. Children do not have access to internet at home and the necessary equipment for their activities. So we have learned together with the community about their needs and problems, not to take for granted the means, the access, and the connectivity. Then we presented 3 phases of our proposal on a community learning center, which is the community center of support to learning. The objective is to support the families with low resources through the capacitation and the development of their abilities in technology. So we presented 3 phases of this proposal. The 0 phase is in this moment, how are the community. We interviewed some mothers of the community which have like children in basic school. Then we asked the participants to discuss about some questions. I'm showing you here a video that we recorded in the community where we interviewed these mothers and a father of 5 or 3 kids, each one, which they don't have accessibility to Wi-Fi easily, and they don't have equipment like computers or tablets. They most of them use one cell phone for the whole family to upload homework, to make these Zoom calls and all this stuff. So it is so hard for them. As we show you here, they say like, oh, I have 5 children studying and I have only one cell phone. Inter-service for Wi-Fi is not getting to my home. We don't have internet at home. We are paying for recharges in cell phone. Also, connection is so bad, and we cannot make Zoom or Meet calls. And then we use a lot of sessions in one email, and it is causing problems with teachers and so on. So we wanted to put a voice in these people and visibilize these problems. So these are the questions that we asked to the groups to discuss. We have 5 work groups. So the conclusions of these workshops, based on what the participants told us, is that we could propose improvised schools, itinerant strategic places, alternative facilities, social collaboration between members of the community, where there could be like a godparents with other families, because within the community is also inequality. And then we could search for university support to have social replicators, students who adopt children, tutoring to dedicate time to them, a social service, companies with social responsibility, and mobile classroom scheme. Also use collaborative networks, which Civil Networks Acts, and other proposals from the participants in the workshop. So these are the main conclusions of it, and we were the organizers of it, Mayra, Monica, me, and Andres, and thank you all.
Great, thank you, Shell. And on to Monica.
Hi, let me show my screen.
Yep, that's 1 minute. Yeah, good, great. Looks good.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Monica Gomez. I'm from the City Science Lab from Guadalajara. I present this workshop yesterday with Gamaliel Palomo too. Yesterday we present the workshop Design Without Hierarchy, where we showed a model for collective invention. That means that designers of spaces and people that lives in that spaces are presented as 2 different but equally important worlds for the construction of the cities, and in where it is necessary to build bridges to meet each other. So we present a possibility to overcome this barrier towards the anticipated presentation of the units that make up the architecture through augmented reality. We did an exercise together, we played, so each person could build their own house in the process. And although unfortunately we couldn't do this without our entire body, we'll be able to recreate in a small scale on our screens. In the activity, each participant began by choosing arbitrarily. Sorry, is this? Okay, no, sorry. I misled the screen. So, okay, we did an exercise together, we played. In the activity, each participant began by choosing arbitrarily a space to live. This space was inscribed in a polygon without information. From this moment on, everyone began to build their own house with certain rules about limits, number of pieces, and time of clock. At the end of the activity, we reflected of all those rules showing what's actually happening in that territory, but now no longer delimited or two-dimensional format, but an existence in a geography, Lomas del Centinela, a community in vulnerable environment. The number of the pieces corresponds to the average to minimum measurement of a house and the savings of 5 years of a person who earns the minimum wage in Mexico, where in each chosen space, we find different problems of all nature. The reflection was taken to rethink the role of the designers in confronting these realities. Final reflections led us to wonder about that gap between doing of design guided only by the design itself towards the quest to lift our eyes from the paper or the screens to look at each other and find ourselves in the reality. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Monica. Okay, last but not least, let me make sure that I'm right on that. Yeah, should be our last workshop to present. And it was actually the last workshop that we hosted. It was just before the closing ceremony. So I believe my Tane is here to present for Knowledge Without Data.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie. So I will share the presentation. So the slides are in Spanish because we didn't have time to translate it to English. So our workshop was Knowledge Without Data, creating a crowdsourced, well, yeah, I can. Okay, here. So creating a crowdsourced metric to understand informality by and for the people in informal communities. So how we structured the workshop, first we had Patricio and Paloma from IDB. We did together the workshop, and first they started presenting their new book, Informando lo Informal. They talk about some study cases and gave us some background about how they define informality. And then we presented our work that we are doing in the power of without. We explained the taxonomy.
The slides are not moving.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so yeah, we present our taxonomy and how the indicators that we created, and also the online platform to gather data from NGOs. And then we have an open discussion about how people define informalities. This was super fun to see how people write their words, the meaning, how they define informality, and then also how important were all the indicators in the taxonomy for defining informality. And then we create different breakout rooms, and then Guada will explain the dynamic and what they said.
Yeah. So then we had 8 breakout rooms. The workshop was in Spanish, but it was translated to English. So we had breakout rooms that they were speaking both in Spanish and English. And as you can see, like each one had like their own graphic identity. And the first exercise was to make their own radar plot, and then to come up like to a consensus radar plot. And we can see like that some of them decided that all of them were equally important and super important. Others decided that it was more important, like the architecture and the vulnerability part. So it is really good to see like how the different breakout rooms like agree into different decisions. And all this material is great for like to lead the steps for a future workshop, because one of the comments that we got, and this is something we have been thinking about, is that not all of these are indicators by its own. Some of them like rely on others. Yeah, and it was really nice. Like it was a really diverse conversation, people from diverse backgrounds. So we were really happy to end up the summit and to have such a successful workshop from our side.
Yeah.
And we would like to thank, like it was really nice that we were able to make this workshop in collaboration with IDB, with Paloma and Patricio, that as Maitane was explaining, they were presenting, and they were like crucial in the breakout rooms, as well as like some people also here from the lab. Thank you for taking part and for leading some of the conversations.
Yeah, and also thank you, Jorge, for being the moderator of, of our workshop. And yeah, I don't know, Luis, if you want to add something or...
And Luis, of course, he's
yeah,
there.
thank you.
He's the one in the back.
No, no. You did
My
great.
pleasure.
Good job.
Yeah, and maybe thank you also to all of our facilitators. We had people from UDAHE and MIT. It's actually a really challenging job because you're doing a lot of things behind the scenes. So guys, that was really exciting. That was all 15 workshops. That was a ton of content. So congratulations to everyone. We want to do like a feedback session with all of us. We also, believe it or not, still have a little bit more content. So before we close today, I want to show you guys what's coming on in the afternoon and the evening, and maybe one more piece of information from UDAHE as well. But until then, I think we can jump into conversation. And perhaps before we do, if I could ask to take a screenshot of us, I'd love to just sort of capture this before we jump into that. Oh, sorry. Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
All right, so I think maybe, Kent, I mean, I don't want to cut this too short. Should we do 10 or 15 minutes of conversation and hear from everyone?
Yeah, sure. I think we should, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so this is totally unstructured, so people
Totally
have
unstructured.
yeah, people have to just speak up. We don't want dead air. So, and if we get dead air, I'll just call on people, okay? All right, who has a, who first of all, who has a thought about the workshops that you felt were the most timely and important? You know, what did you particularly find? And people will come at it from all different directions. I just want to hear a few samples.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Luis, since nobody's speaking up, I always call on you.
Yeah, I see. Well, I mean, like, it's very difficult. I have been, I think I try to be in all of the workshops. I miss only 3. And it's very difficult to tell because they were also very diverse, and I love that. I think everybody was trying to do their own, you know, like their own thing, and something that I like is like people were like very openly like sharing, getting into the different dynamics, and that's something unique. Usually when you are in the same room and we have these kind of workshops, they're kind of very successful and easy to put people in the mood of sharing ideas. But in the virtual life is kind of complex, and I don't know how it happened, and I think that's, I was not expecting that. I realized that it did work very well. And even if, for instance, the last workshop, it was challenging because it was a very complex subject, and people, I mean, it was new for the people, and they were jumping into the ideas and sharing like in the real, you know, face-to-face workshop. So I learned that somehow work. I prefer the face-to-face for sure. I think that works much better, but I was surprised that at least work in some ways. So that was pretty good. In the other side, when the speakers are like more like sharing presentations, I think that's good. But for me, was yesterday, the last workshops were a little bit difficult for me to follow because I was exhausted a little bit. So if you try to follow the entire day of workshops, is more challenging if you are just listening. So maybe also we can learn a little bit about that. Like maybe we have more active workshops and more listening, but we combine a little bit, so it can be more dynamic. But in my general output, my general insight is like I think was very successful, and I like how people, the energy of the people, and that's fantastic. So thank you very much for all of you. I know that has been like a huge effort, and I like it. I mean, like Imanuel in Hamburg, they were trying a totally new tool, and it was actually complicated to get there, and they knew, but they were challenging us. And I think in most of the workshops, everybody was trying something new. So I think that's also something that we need to put highlight, because the easy thing is just to do something that is like the same thing, but I think everybody in the workshops were trying something new ideas, new content, or new ways of sharing. So for me, that was fantastic.
Yeah, for myself, I wouldn't be able to pick a favorite. They were so varied. I was very impressed with the quality of the ideas. I'm quite often bored at conferences. They're usually too high level. Often they're irrelevant. I found everything to be interesting and timely. Some drilled down and really got into the weeds of a particular issue. Others were more high level and aspirational. Others challenge people to actually, work with tools and contribute. And I think that variety is extremely successful. So I just want to thank everybody for the hard work in putting these together. And also just to mention that, we come together for this once a year, but I think the real purpose is to establish connections and relationships that can lead to projects and ongoing relationships. So it looks like that's already happening. So that's very exciting to me.
Totally.
I think it was good that we had this bilingual scheme of the workshop, because some of the workshops that we were giving in Spanish, we actually had people from everywhere international, but it allows us to have many participants from here, from Latin America, and get them involved and show them what is the network, what the different labs are doing. I think that was a new information for many people. So yeah, I have heard like some good comments regarding and congratulations regarding the formatting of the summit. I think there's still a lot that we can improve for next one, but we learned in the process. And I think for the next summit, we will go with a hybrid scheme, because even if we prefer to work face-to-face and it's a better interaction, we are getting used to this type also of communication, and it allows us to attract a larger audience. And as in the Taipei case, maybe we could replicate that in Taipei, hopefully next year.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think this hybrid model in some fashion is the future. The best of the online with the connecting with people that can't be face to face, and then bringing people together for special experiences. Alex, you had a comment? I see in the chat here.
Yes, sure. I put it in the chat and I can reiterate it by saying it out loud.
Yeah.
I attended some of the workshops that were in Spanish, and I could hear the energy and passion in people's voices or on their faces, and then also follow along to the English translation. And I just felt like that worked out really well. And I wonder how that could be done in a non-virtual setting. And I think that's just one example of some silver linings of this virtual format, and that I wonder if we can take them into the hybrid or the future models as well.
Well, that's a good point. I'd love to hear people's thoughts on that. Because everybody knows the value of coming together face to face. But what actually worked better with the virtual format? Anybody have any thought? What worked better and that we want to keep going forward, even if we come together face to face?
That's a good question. I mean, I think, I'm sorry, but I think everything works better in a face-to-face. like if you're even translation. When we did the workshops in Guadalajara,
we probably couldn't get Mama G from
exactly. Exactly. I think the virtual thing, what does is like you can build in the top of the physical one. So it's a hybrid where you can bring people that they are not here, and it's impossible to bring them like Mamaji or Yahim. So I think it's something that we need to explore. It's not better or worse. It's complementary. It's like let's find the best of both and put it together. But that's my opinion.
I like to comment that it's more inclusive when you have the simultaneous translation. So even in the future, if we go back to the pre-normal or pre-actual, or I don't know what to call it, post-normal, having the simultaneous translation will allow other people in each country, obviously their own translators, to benefit from the online component of the meetings, even if you're doing it live and face-to-face. So that element, I think, is fundamental for being able to share the knowledge more with each country in their language.
Marcus, you had a comment.
Yeah, I just want to say two things. I thought Mayra's comment about bridging North and South was very good. And I think that more of this kind of expansion into the Southern Hemisphere is really necessary. And one of the, actually in several of the workshops that I attended, there were people from Argentina, from other parts of the world who would not have been able to attend had there not been this virtual platform. And I thought that was great, because as we become more inclusive and more global in our outreach, I do think we are going to have to, have more hybrid models to spread the word, the good work.
Yeah. One thing that happens in this format, everybody is equal. Everybody has equal voice, same size image on the little Zoom matrix. But when you have some people face-to-face and other people remote, they tend to be second-class citizens, and that's not good.
But we'll have to work on that, right? I mean,
we have to work on it. Yeah,
that's the next challenge for us.
Just
Luis Valles.
Sorry.
Dallas. You had a comment? Yeah.
Yeah, something that I've been reflecting on is how the digital format enabled a lot of the workshop. I think maybe I didn't expect, I thought that I'd be more listening versus like participating. And I found that in a lot of pockets between sessions or even like at night, my mind is still like kind of like actively working on whatever activity or task we were doing. And I think that there was an element of me getting used to the collaboration, but I think that the more and more that you do, there's a promise in this like really broad scale working together side by side that I think is sometimes challenging to recreate in a certain space where there's space constraints, where people have to coordinate moving between one session to the next session. And I think it becomes a little bit difficult, but just the idea of really shifting from activity to activity where you're like being spoken to in a broad group to you're like a group of 5, you're co-creating on a single document, and then everyone's just sharing virtually already. I think if we can like iron out the details, like it seems like a very powerful medium for that.
Fabulous.
I just want to add 2 things also. First of all, we didn't travel, so our carbon footprint was very good. That is also a positive thing. And the other one is also inclusiveness. It also did not cost a lot for some of the people. So also people could attend it that have not maybe the possibility to travel. So it's not so bad to do it, something like that.
Absolutely. And I could sleep in my own bed every night.
Hi.
But
Great. That was just about 12 minutes. So maybe like 1 or 2 more comments. I hear a couple folks raising their voices. So
yeah, Professor Su in Taipei has a comment.
Yeah, Chachin here.
Hi.
Chachin.
Hi, Ken.
Hi, good to see you.
Yeah, actually, I like this kind of the virtual format for the summits. In the case of the Taipei Tech, as you can see, we have lots of students, registered for this events. And actually, last night is actually the day before the national long holiday, but the students, they are still willing to stay in the room and then having attended this event. So I think it's quite successful. And so for next year, the Taipei Tech invite everyone to, if the situation is allowed, to come to Taipei Tech. And just a few minutes ago, Professor Yao called me and asked me start arranging the housing for everyone.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great.
So
Well,
hope,
you noticed
next
that
year.
Luis has changed his name to CSS Taipei 2021. So.
Yeah.
Well,
he says CSS Taipei 2021, right? So
your commitment's amazing because it's 3 a.m. there.
Yeah, 3 o'clock. Okay, thank you for making all those arrangements. And Maggie and Christina, that's lots of help because last week we are still thinking about how to do the breakout discussion in the virtual platform, but obviously we solved the problem. Thank you.
Yeah. So Maggie, what's the craziest thing that happened preparing for this event?
I feel like so many crazy things happened. And I mean, I think also, to be honest, there was a lot of energy. So like the pace kind of didn't stop. Like as we were planning, we realized that like new ideas kept coming up, and people wanted to do workshops that were very different actually than what I imagined a workshop would be like. I sort of anticipated a format that we've used before, but we saw, like, for example, Taipei Tech doing merging an in-person and a virtual event. We saw Hamburg putting people into like random conversations in the moment. And I think that we even had team members building tools specifically for the summit. And then in addition, we had really interesting speakers who we knew their research, but because we were doing interviews with them, so many like interesting things came up with those last minute as well. It was always changing. The event was constantly changing right up until the last minute.
Yeah, that's anxiety producing, I'm sure.
No. Great. We want to show you guys what's up for us this afternoon. And also, Mayra, I shot you a text, so just check it because I want to see what we can do with the video. I don't have it yet. If you can take a look and send me a link, maybe.
Yeah,
okay.
I send you the link, but I will do it again.
Yeah, it was a different one, so just check that. In the meantime, I will jump into this for us. Oops, sorry guys, one sec. Okay, so we still have two things this afternoon. Today at 4 p.m. Eastern time, we are doing a film screening. I just want to make sure that everyone knows about this. This film is called The 27th of February. It's by a young filmmaker who's part of the City Science Lab at Hamburg University, Teresa. And it's about an informal community in Algeria that was a tent community that became a permanent settlement. It's short, it's 45 minutes, but we can all watch it together and then do a Q&A with her. And also there's some similarities to the work that Teresa's doing and some of the work that we saw Gabby do, but they actually have a very different visual voice. It's a very different experience than watching some of what we've seen Gabby make, but equally beautiful and powerful. And then a plug for Pass the Mic. And if Andres is on and you want to let us know what's happening here, that would be great. This is this evening at 6 p.m. ET, and we'll go for, I think, no more than 2 hours. I'll also show you guys the schedule here.
Yeah, so we're gonna have music from all around the world, going back and forth from Hamburg to Boston to Mexico. Even to Kent will be the opening act. So we'll be looking forward to seeing you there. It's gonna be fun.
Okay, so Pass the Mic starts at 6 p.m. Eastern time, which is 5 in Mexico. Really long, interesting agenda here. You see a bunch of names that you recognize, people from MIT and people from other parts of the world. And then this film screening is at 4 p.m. today. I'll put a link in the chat for the calendar so that you guys can see it. And then we want to get you one last thing from Udahe, but maybe before we do that, Kent, if you wanted to add any additional remarks.
Well, I just think that I feel so privileged to be able to work with this amazing group of people in our City Science group, but amazing people in the network. And I feel like we're just getting started. I mean, I think every year gets better and better, and we'll pull in new people and new ideas, and but I don't want it to, we don't want to take over the world. But we want to find the right people in the right places that we can bring in to have impact. And I think we've got a really good start, and I look forward to everyone, helping us make this even more successful. So thanks to everyone.
Yeah, I think.
So I guess we'll see you at the film screening, and then the open mic.
Yes, we'll see you then. And we're just trying to, all right, so we're trying to get you guys a video. Udahe has made a compilation video, and like everything in the summit, it's coming together last minute, and we don't have the file yet. Mayra, did you get it?
I think we have it, but I don't have the link either. I don't know, Ixchel, could you share the video? I think you have the link.
Yes, let me just 2 seconds to open it.
Maggie, Maggie, just one question.
Yeah.
In the calendar, the movie has been moved at 10 o'clock at night.
Oh yeah, that's a mistake.
Okay, so yeah, in the Google
Or
calendar.
wait, or maybe your time zone's weird. Let me check the calendar.
I see.
What time is supposed to be?
4.
4. Yeah, I saw it at 9 as well.
Yeah.
9 here, so it's wrong, right?
Yeah, it's wrong. I mean, it definitely could have been me. There's a few of us that have edit access, so it got dragged and dropped in the wrong position. So thanks for the note, Luis. I just moved it back. It's at 4 p.m. in Boston. It's at 3 p.m. in Mexico. And that should be more like 10 p.m. in Europe for the folks in Hamburg. And I think there's interest in that film as well for people who are even further east. So we'll see what we can do to get you also to be able to view that. So yeah, and then after that, we have a little break, and then we move into Pass the Mic, which is a completely different format for us as well. Fun, creative, lots of.
I think the video is ready. Well, it's not complete, but it's an advance, and it's a way to say thank you to all of our participants. So thank you. Hope you enjoy it.
Sorry. So I just played.
Maybe. No, there's no sound.
Oh my God.
Hmm.
So you know how I can do it? I have the sound, but I don't know if when I share the screen.
When you share the screen, you have to click the box like share also sound, I think.
Okay.
So maybe share again the screen.
Okay.
Oh, and actually there's a good suggestion too in the chat. Yeah, Sushi is saying this would be great to also show this video and Pass the Mic tonight. And I also really like that idea too.
Okay, yes.
So we will wait until the Pass the Mic to.
Yeah, I think we have another opportunity. We're trying to like really get it all in here, but I think it's our closing ceremony. So it's like our end, but we actually still have a little bit more time together. So we're super glad you guys made it. I'm anxious to see it, but let's watch it tonight with Pass the Mic.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Great.
Okay, let's do it later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
See you.
Bye,
Later.
guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Soon.
Bye, see you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. All these people.
We're always so ambitious when we work with Udahe. We're like, one more thing.
Yeah, I know.
The file just arrived. Let's see if it works. Yeah, why not? That's fine.
We tried it.
Time is never enough.
Yeah. Well, how's everybody feeling now? Tired?
Yeah, but happy.
You're happy, Michelle? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm happy.
It has been a great experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, and we have our facilitators here. So Mike and Jorge and Carla were in like all of the workshops and streaming to YouTube and answering questions. And it's actually really a lot of